We are back with another predictions video. Last week I went a solid 12-4. Not bad, not as great as I did last week. Like I went 13-3 my first week. One game off, not terrible, but I do drop in the rankings just a little bit. The games I missed? Well, okay, I wasn't expecting the Seahawks to blow out the Steelers, but it was mostly the Steelers making mistakes. The Jaguars honestly should have won that game, so I wasn't entirely off base. They looked like the better team through most of the game. They just didn't make the plays when they needed to. Congrats on the Bengals for taking advantage, but they do lose their starting quarterback. Season might be over for the Bengals. As it turns out, I may have picked the wrong AFC South team to upset. The Colts just win off a lucky field goal. I mean, the field goal itself wasn't lucky, but the whole circumstance was very lucky. And the last game I missed, Falcons, Vikings. Okay, you know what? I should have anticipated this. This was a game I initially thought could have gone to the Falcons, but I switched my pick to the Vikings. Yeah, I shouldn't have done that. The Falcons look like the better team. But we'll be picking the Week 3 games right now. However, due to a lot of comments suggesting I also make spread picks, I will also be doing spread picks, along with my normal picks. I'll continue my normal picks. I'll also give my analysis if you want to bet on these games. I've been pretty accurate so far, but my word shouldn't be taken as gospel, so do it at your own risk. So the first game, Thursday night, Dolphins versus Bills. Bills look like one of the best teams in the AFC right now. The Dolphins, well, they did show signs of life last week. They weren't amazing either. And the Bills easily dismantled the Jets. In a straight pick'em, I'm picking the Bills every time. I would be genuinely surprised if the Bills managed to find a way to lose this. In terms of spread, this spread scares me. Anytime I see anything over 7, picking the favored team is scary. This is definitely one I would not put any money on, but if I had to pick, I would still probably pick the Bills because of how they blew out the Jets last week. And the Dolphins defense is pretty bad, so the Bills can easily put up 30 plus. I don't know if the Dolphins can get close to that. But division games can get a little weird, so I wouldn't be surprised if the Dolphins cover even in a loss. The next game is the Packers versus the Browns. On to one of the best NFC teams right now. I mean, the Packers defense looks like one of the best in the NFL at the moment. Their offense, not so much, but still pretty good. I believe they're still a top 10 offense in a lot of aspects. So, despite them not looking the greatest at times, they easily can put up high 20s, 30 points a game. So I'm not worried about the Packers offense underperforming that much, but the Browns defense ain't bad. So I wouldn't be surprised if they at least put up a fight and this game is closer than some people expect. But Packers, they should win. In terms of spread, it's over 7, which I don't like. I would prefer this if this was like 6.5, then I'd easily take the Packers. But 7.5, I wouldn't put any money on this game. And I might actually pick the Browns in this because their defense is also pretty good. And their offense has been shown to put up a fight. I wouldn't be surprised if the Packers win this by like 6 or 5. The next game up is the Colts and Titans. I mean, the Colts look like the best AFC South team right now. They are just moving on all cylinders. They blew out a bad Dolphins team, and the Broncos were expected to be one of the better teams in the AFC with their defense. They put up 29 and forced a lot of errors from Bo Nix. The Titans, on the other hand, yeah, Cam Ward looks good at times, but that roster looks bad. They have not really performed all that great in any of their games. I'm taking the Colts here. Colts start out 3-0, which is a genuine surprise for me. In terms of spread, I'm picking the Colts here. This is an easy pick for me. The Colts should beat the Titans by more than 4. Next up, we have the Bengals and Vikings. If the Bengals were healthy, I'd be picking them, but they're not. And if the Vikings were healthy, I'd probably pick them instead. But the quarterback matchup is one of the quarterback matchups of all time. It's Jake Browning versus Carson Wentz in 2025. What a matchup. This is definitely a matchup where I'm picking who's the better defense, and that would be the Vikings. I think the Vikings are easily the better defense here. The Bengals defense was pretty bad, but they do force turnovers, which may help them out a little bit, but I'm pretty sure the Vikings can move up and down the field despite their injuries. In terms of spread, I would not even touch this game because of the QB matchup and the complete uncertainty with both of their rosters. But since I am picking the Vikings to win, I think they can win by 3. Next is the Steelers and Patriots. This is a tough matchup to pick. The Steelers got decimated by the Seahawks. Well, not really decimated, but they completely fell apart in the second half. And the Patriots, they looked better against the Dolphins, but they did allow a lot of points to what might have been a dead Dolphins team if it wasn't for that game. So I do have my concerns about the Patriots, but I also have my concerns about the Steelers. In terms of their overall teams, I don't think either of these teams are great. These are both mid-range teams that are maybe fighting for the 7 seed. So it's a pretty tough matchup to pick. I'm actually leaning towards the Patriots here. Their offense looks good, though their defense wasn't great. I'm not super convinced by the Steelers' offense. The Steelers' offense is going to have a lot of off weeks. I think this could be one of those off weeks. And in terms of spread, it's basically a straight pick 'em because the spread is so tiny, and if you want to bet on this game, pick whoever you think is going to win, but you won't get much of a return. So, in that case, since I am picking the Patriots, it would make sense to take the spread on the Patriots. This is definitely going to be timing on when you put your bet, so be careful with that. Next up is actually a really fun matchup. The Rams versus Eagles in a rematch of last year's divisional game. Rams, they played around with the Titans a little too much, and the Eagles beat the Chiefs, so they're definitely off to a strong start, beating pretty good teams so far. The Rams, meanwhile, played 2 AFC South teams. I mean, say what you want about the Texans, they don't look great, and the Titans definitely aren't very good. So though I do like the Rams as a team, the Eagles have just looked better overall, so I'm going to pick the Eagles here. Actually, a pretty nice spread, so I think the Eagles can win this, but the 3.5 is important. I think this will be a close game, but I do think the Eagles win by at least 4. I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles win this by 3 and ruins the spread. Next is the Jets and Buccaneers. I mean, the Jets, they're not expected to be a very good team, and Justin Fields is hurt. I don't think that makes that big of a difference because I don't think Justin Fields is very good. And the Buccaneers ran a 2-minute drill against the Texans to win the game. So the Buccaneers definitely look pretty good, and the Jets are coming off a blowout, some injuries. I'm going to take the Buccaneers here. They just look better coached, better roster, just better everything. Spread less than 7, that's pretty important. So I will be taking the Buccaneers here because the Jets are missing some pieces on their offense, and I think the Buccaneers can win by 2 scores. Now we have the Raiders and Commanders. Raiders did not look great against the Chargers, but then again, the Chargers are a very good team. Raiders offense hasn't been great, and Gentry's been somewhat of a disappointment so far. However, it is still early in the season. I'm not hitting the panic button on him yet. The Commanders did lose a starting running back in Austin Eckler for the season and possibly his career, which is quite unfortunate. I like him. However, the tricky part about this game is Jaden Daniels is hurt. Now, Jaden Daniels is expected to play, but through an injury could hurt his production. So the Raiders can possibly take advantage of this. However, I still believe in the Commanders and am going to pick them. Now, the spread also reflects Jaden Daniels' injury and the uncertainty around it. Less than 3, I'm taking the Commanders here. It's whoever you think is going to win. That's who you should pick for the spread. Now we have a divisional matchup with the Falcons and Panthers. The Falcons completely dominated the Vikings on Monday Night Football. The Panthers nearly mounted a comeback, but I think that has to do with the Cardinals being kind of mid rather than the Panthers being all that good. But it is good to see Bryce Young kind of bounce back after the game against the Jaguars where he looked pretty terrible. Meanwhile, the Falcons looked pretty good on defense. And despite not doing a whole lot in the passing game, Bijan Robinson completely tore apart the Vikings defense. The Panthers defense, meanwhile, are not nearly as good as the Vikings defense. So I'm picking the Falcons here every time. In terms of spread, less than a score, I'm going to pick the Falcons here. Now we have another divisional matchup in the Texans and Jaguars. This is probably the toughest matchup to pick this weekend. The Texans have looked pretty bad over the last 2 weeks, but they have been against good teams. The Jaguars, meanwhile, pretty much blew out the Panthers and should have blown out the Bengals, but the Bengals are a good team and they let that opportunity slip away. The Jaguars are a young team with a young coaching staff, so early in the season, there's going to be some growing pains. Texans are definitely the toughest team they have faced so far. The Bengals, yes, they have a good offense, but that defense is pretty trash. The Texans' defense has been carrying this team, despite the 0-2 record. Both the Texans' game have been within 1 score, but that offense has not delivered. Which way you think this game will go will depend on what you think about the Jaguars offense versus the Texans defense. And what I think about them is I think the Jaguars offense is pretty good. Liam Cohen comes from the 2 teams that have already beat them, the Rams and the Buccaneers. So he's very familiar with the schemes both those teams have used to beat the Texans. So if the Jaguars defense can step up, hold the Texans offense, I think the Jaguars can win this game. In terms of spread, pretty much as close as you can get. It's a straight pick 'em as well. So I'm picking the Jaguars here. Here's another divisional matchup. The Broncos and the Chargers. Funny enough, this is actually for first place in the AFC West. The Chiefs are 0-2, and the Raiders I've already picked to lose. The Broncos could take this opportunity to take the division lead. However, I have my concerns with that offense. That offense has not looked as good as many have expected. Meanwhile, the Chargers have been doing very well so far. Their defense has shown up, and so has their offense. So because the Chargers have been running on all cylinders so far, I'm going to pick the Chargers here. I think the Broncos are still a good team. I'm not going to panic on them yet, but I think the Chargers have shown to be the better team so far. In terms of spread, it's pretty close to a pick 'em as well, so I'm going to pick the Chargers. Next up, we have the Saints and Seahawks. The Saints, they're a pretty bad team. The Seahawks, meanwhile, have come off a pretty big win against the Steelers. And that was pretty important to build some momentum because the first week against the 49ers was pretty rough. Even the first half of that Steelers game was also pretty rough. They came together in that second half and put up 24. However, the Saints have been playing every team close. I'm still picking the Seahawks because they look like a good team. However, in terms of spread, I'm actually going to take the Saints here. The Saints have played within 1 score of every team they've come across. Now, they haven't been great teams. They have been the Cardinals, who I think are a mid-range team, and the 49ers, who have been beat up already, so they were missing a lot of players, and they still played within 1 score. The Seahawks, I don't think are that much better than either of those teams. I think they are also a mid-range team, so I think the Saints can easily play this game close. Next up is the Cowboys and Bears. I'm actually kind of surprised the spread is this close. Because the Cowboys have shown to be the much better team than the Bears. The Bears, that offense has not looked great. They are coming off of being blown out against the Lions. And the Vikings game, they completely fell apart. Like, they put up a lead and just decided not to score anymore. I have my concerns about that offense, and that defense I don't think has been very good. So I'm going to pick the Cowboys. The Cowboys are missing some pieces on offense, like their center, and their defense hasn't been great, so if any game is going to be a bounce-back game for the Bears, it could be this one, but I think the Cowboys offense can easily outscore the Bears. In terms of spread, basically another pick 'em. I'm surprised the Bears are favored here, so I'm going to take the Cowboys. And the last of the afternoon games is the Cardinals and 49ers. This is a weird game. Brock Purdy may come back here. It could also be Mac Jones. So I am recording this on Wednesday. I don't have any confirmation if Brock Purdy is going to play this week, but I'm going to go on the assumption he's not. That injury stated he's out 2 to 5 weeks. So I'm going to assume they sit him this week. And if Mac Jones is playing, I don't have that much confidence in the 49ers offense. Yes, they have Christian McCaffrey, who played well against the Saints and definitely could do some damage against the Cardinals, but the Cardinals aren't that bad. I think the Cardinals are a much better team than the Saints, even though they played close, but I think the Saints played close with everybody. So I'm going to pick the Cardinals here. 49ers are favored, but I think the Cardinals get the upset here. In terms of spread, also basically a straight pick 'em. Since I picked the Cardinals, I'm going to pick them here as well. And now we move to the Sunday night game. This is one of the matchups of all time. However, I'm sure nobody expected the Chiefs to go into this game 0-2. That's been probably one of the bigger surprises this season. However, their first two games have shown to be pretty tough. Chargers are better than we expected, and the Eagles just won a Super Bowl. The Giants nearly won against the Cowboys, but Cowboys made a play at the end. Cowboys win. And I don't think the Giants can replicate that against the Chiefs. The Chiefs finally get their first win of the season. And with the spread, this is actually a very interesting spread. I'm not confident in betting this, but I'm going to take the Chiefs here. I think they can win by roughly 7, but I wouldn't be surprised if this game is decided by 4 or less. And for the last game of the weekend, we have the Lions and Ravens. This is a fun matchup on Monday. Lions blew out their team. Ravens blew out their team. Who's going to be the better offense? This is fun and 100% a toss-up for me. You could make an argument for either team. However, I do like the experience the Ravens have. The Lions have a new coaching staff. It's going to have some growing pains. The Ravens are a tough team. This is going to be a fun matchup. Could be a high scoring as well. I don't have confidence in either defense to really dominate the other team. I'm going to pick the Ravens here. In terms of spread, I would be genuinely surprised if the game is decided by more than 4 points. So I'm going to take the Lions here to cover. So let me know what you think of these picks in the comments, what picks you would change, and let me know how you did last week. But anyways, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.